We're live.
All right, so it is Betting in the Break without our intro tonight, and I am Loud Esmond, your host. This is the show where we try to get you whole if you're down and try to grow your bankroll if you're up. Obviously, all being, gamblers here and people who know people who go to sports books and gamble. Yeah, I won. I'm going to take my winnings and go home. No, doesn't happen. Oh, man, I'm down. I'm going to the ATM machine because I'm going to try to get a hole on the late games. So I've got two fantastic handicappers here that can help us out. And I've got Sniper Wes and I've got Scott Steen, the steamroller. All right, guys. Storylines for today. Obviously, the Miami Hurricanes losing is a big one. Georgia Bulldogs go down to Ole Miss. Indiana beats Michigan. That's the first time that has happened since we landed on the moon, by the way. So a lot of storylines for today, but also you have about 14 minutes to the 4:30 games. So we're going to get the picks out of the way first. Sniper Wes, you're up.
Yeah, so I think at 4:30 we have Alabama LSU 4:30, right? So we're 7:30 Eastern, right? So that's going to be you got 14 minutes till kickoff here. So I like so Alabama LSU. So both of these teams are 6-2. Bama won this game last year. They won 42-28. Bama, they go for 432 a game. LSU goes for 448 yards a game. The loser of this game is likely eliminated from playoff contention. Maybe they still have a shot, but they could be eliminated if they lose this game. So it's a huge spot for both teams. LSU, they're off a 38-23 loss to Texas A&M, so they want to get back in the win column. But I'll tell you what, give me the under here. I like the under. You can find it at 58.5. Bama, they've gone under in 2 straight games, and I think points are going to be pretty tough to come by here because you have elite athletes on both defenses here. And in a game that both teams have to have, I just don't see a shootout. I think it's going to be more of like they try to feel each other out type of game. They run the ball, try to control time of possession. And I mean, I like first quarter under. I like first half under. I like the full game under. Yeah, give me the under here, 58.5 for purposes of the video. I think that's my only game at 7:30 Eastern. So we can.
So Sniper Wes is going underoos in the first game, LSU Alabama. Scott, do you have a different opinion, or do you have something on the side bet you want to talk about?
I think that's a pretty fair play. I don't disagree with that at all. I think that it could be a defensive struggle. This LSU defense has certainly gotten a lot better as the season's gone on. In Alabama, for whatever reason, they're just not clicking on offense, like Wes said over the last couple of games. I don't hate the full board under their first quarter, first half, and FG under 58.5. I think those are all solid plays.
All right, Penn State and Washington Huskies. You notice I'm wearing my Washington Husky purple tie. So I've got the Husky tie on. I do not believe the Huskies are going to win this game against Penn State. The number is down to plus 13.5. And the West Coast teams traveling to play on the East Coast, what used to be the Pac-12 teams that joined the other leagues, like the Big Ten, those teams in the games where they're traveling to the East Coast, like 3,000 miles, they are not doing well. USC in particular has been horrible going across the country. One of the penalties they're paying for joining a league that, they're going to be putting in spaceship miles to go to games. What I like here is the under. I'm going under 48 in this game. The reasoning is pretty straightforward. Washington Huskies are not great on offense by any stretch, and both these teams can play some defense. Penn State, 7th ranked defense in the country. They only allow 15 points per game, but Penn State only scores 30. And then Washington, at best, scores on average 22.1 points a game, but they only allow 21. Again, the stronger side of the team in both cases is the defense. Penn State's defense is better than their offense. Washington, the Huskies, their offense is just slightly scoring more than their defense allows, but their defense is the better side of the team. So I'm going to go under 48 in that game. Anybody want to tell me how wrong I am?
I agree with that. I mean, Washington, they're 2-7 to the under this year. Penn State, 2-6 to the under this year. So they've both been playing to the under in general. I will say that as a coach, not as a person, because I don't hate anybody as a person, but as a coach, I cannot stand James Franklin. I cannot believe he still has a job. He must have naked pictures of the dean or something, because that guy, I mean, he's like Marvin Lewis. Remember Marvin Lewis? They would never get rid of the guy. You're like, how's this guy still have a job? But, I like the under. I agree with that play, and I think it's going to be a lower scoring game as well.
Scott?
I'm on the side there. I think this is going to be an angry Penn State team. And Lou, you actually touched on it a little bit earlier. This has been a bad Washington team when they've traveled east. They've traveled east 3 times this season. They are 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the numbers, with losses to Rutgers, Iowa, and Indiana. And the Iowa and Indiana games were not competitive. They lost by 14 to Indiana. They lost by 24 to Iowa. And I think you've got a similar quality team, if not better, here in Penn State. I think you can certainly make the case Penn State is certainly better than Iowa, and they're probably better than Indiana. I think we're going to see more of the same tonight. I think Penn State runs it up on this Washington team that plays well against bad teams, but against good teams, not so much.
Gotcha. And then my only other pick, Oregon, Maryland. Oregon's 24.5 point favorite in this game. On paper, they are certainly 24.5 points better than Maryland. Maryland doesn't have much of an offense or much of a defense. Frankly, they're just not much of a team this year that anybody really has to worry about. Oregon, of course, ranked number 1 in the country. Fantastic offense, really good defense. They're great on both sides of the ball. But last week, once they got up big, they started pulling back the reins. And this is a coach who's looking at the big picture here. Hey, we're ranked number 1. All we have to do is keep winning. We don't need style points. So why are they going to step on the gas on any of these teams the rest of the season? I don't see it. Maryland's going to have a hell of a time scoring. They might not score 14. They might score 10 or something like that.
Well,
so
they're up 3-0 now. So
right. All right. Maybe 14, 17. I'm on the under 58. If Oregon scores 40, Maryland needs to score 19. I just don't see I don't see this number getting over 58, Scott.
No, I agree. I was trying to catch a live number here, since there's about 8 minutes left. It's locked out there, getting ready for 4th down there. But I think even jumping on this at probably somewhere in the neighborhood of
45.
Yeah, what you got it at 48.5, you said? Yeah, I think you're probably going to be in the 44.5, 45 range. I still think that's a solid play with half the first quarter gone, and Maryland just up 3-0 in that one. So, yeah, I think you're solid there, Lou.
Wes?
Yeah, I don't think Oregon really cares about Maryland, so I don't really think there's any.
Does anybody?
Yeah, no, I don't think they do. And also, they have, looking ahead, they have Wisconsin on deck, and then Washington after that. So they aren't really going to be looking ahead to Wisconsin. I mean, they want to beat Wisconsin, but Wisconsin's down this year too. But it's kind of like, yeah, I don't really see them putting their foot on the gas here.
All right, Wes, you got a couple more late picks you wanted to talk about. Go for it.
Sure. So I like Virginia plus the points over Pittsburgh. I think that might be in about an hour or so. So Virginia's 4-4. Pittsburgh is 7-1. These teams did not play last year, but Pitt did win 2 years ago. So Virginia does have some revenge for the kids that were, on that team. Virginia's lost 3 straight, so they're in a bad way. They want to get back in the win column pretty bad. Pitt, they're obviously off their first loss to SMU, but I think they could have another hangover here. Not saying they're going to lose the game, but I just think Virginia can hang tough. Calandria, he did not play well in their last game. The Virginia quarterback, he did not play well their last game. He actually got benched for Tony Muskett, which, by the way, Tony Muskett, that's a fantastic name for a quarterback. And he played well. Tony Muskett played well, but Calandria is back here, and I think he's going to play well. I think he kind of had a sit down and a talking to by the head coach, and I think Virginia is going to hang tough here over Pittsburgh plus the 7.5.
I've been riding Pittsburgh all year long, so because they're so good against the spread. Scott?
I'm on BYU, laying the wood there at Utah. I got this early at 2.5. I think it's now up to 3.5, and I don't really care. That really doesn't matter to me, even though it's gone through a key number. This is a Utah team without a quarterback. That's just as simple as you can put it. Cam Rising is finally out for the season. No word yet on whether he's going to come back for his 8th year.
God, that guy, that is one of the most injured people. I mean, every year he's out for the season.
Yeah, it really is. And it's a lot of bad breaks. Like, I know he had some arm trouble early in the season. He was kind of spotty with his starts, and then he finally gets in there and gets a leg injury that ends his season. So he's really just got sort of the curse on him. And good quarterback when he's healthy, but, there's nothing you can do with him at the next level. There's absolutely no way that you're going to draft somebody that's got 8 years of college experience. But I also don't hate the under there. It's 40.5, so I get it. It's scary. But this is a Utah team that still plays really good defense, and this BYU team that has an underrated defense as well. I think they're going to be able to stuff Utah, and this is going to be a grind. But I think BYU comes out on top, covers the number there.
To piggyback on that. So I am on the under as well. So we're aligned on the under. Utah, they're 1-6-1 to the under this season, and that's just because they can't move the ball. And why can't they move the ball? Because Cam Rising never plays, right? And their backup quarterback is actually Zach Wilson's, the NFL quarterback. It's his brother, Isaiah Wilson, I believe his name is. He had 1 or 2 decent games, but he started to look like Zach Wilson as of late. So I think they even put in their third stringer, and he was no good too. So I'm on the under as well. It's actually a premium play, but that's in a package that already went off, so I don't mind telling you that that's a premium of mine. I released it at under 40.5 a couple days ago, though.
Yeah, I think Brandon Rose is going to get the start there. Wilson's the freshman, and they yanked him in the last game. I think indications are that Brandon Rose, the sophomore, is going to get the start there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Wilson play, And as they always say, when you have 2 quarterbacks, you got none, and that's certainly true of this Utah team. 2 guys that let's be gentle and say they need a little more seasoning. How about that?
Yeah. It's kind of like the Swedish meatball sauce I just made out of a mix. Needs a lot more seasoning. I think the Swedish are against flavor, given the sauce that I just got from them. I had
you ever have those at IKEA? The Swedish meatballs at IKEA?
Oh, those are great.
They're not bad at all, man.
No, those are great. I made mine from scratch, but you got to have the Swedish meatball sauce. So I actually ordered some online, and I had to translate the instruction because they were all in German.
And the bad part is it took 3 hours to put together. So that was
it did take some time.
I had to watch a video and everything. It's not worth it.
And you got to walk through 100 rooms before you can cook it.
Right.
Got to do that. All right, guys. Any more college picks?
No, that's about it for me. You want to talk some NFL?
Yeah, let's talk some NFL. So we are inflicting the Giants and Panthers on the country of Germany tomorrow, which may start another war. If I'd be pretty angry if I was Germany and you sent me the Giants and the Panthers. Scott, pretty ugly, huh?
I don't know how you take this Panthers team. I just don't know.
It's such a big number for the Giants, laying 6.5, though.
I know. That's certainly they certainly want you to take Carolina there, but I think it's just going to be a horrifically long day for Bryce Young going up against Dexter Lawrence. I think this is just going to be a case of Dexter Lawrence, and even Chapman and Nunez Roach is just living in the backfield there for the Giants. I don't see Carolina getting much going on the offensive side of the ball at all. 6.5. I don't like to lay it in an NFL game, of course, but I'll make an exception here.
I generally stay away from these foreign games because weird things happen. They're strange games. And especially, this breaks 2 of my rules. I don't like betting a bad team against a bad team, and I don't like betting on foreign or Thursday night football games because strange things happen. Bills, Colts, next up on the slate. This opened Bills -2. It's now Bills -4. Wes, do you have a premium play on this, or can you talk about it?
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about it. I actually haven't really looked at it that much just because I kind of didn't really like the game. You don't know what you're going to do with Flacco. I mean, Flacco was supposed to be, the reincarnation of Joe Montana when he took over that job last week. He just looked terrible. And you can't go back to Richardson at this point. I think you let him hold the clipboard the rest of the year and learn. I don't think his career is over. I don't think he's a bust, but he does need to. He's just not ready to play yet. So who knows what we get from Flacco. Josh Allen, he's a legit MVP candidate, in my opinion. Him and Lamar and, obviously the quarterback from Washington, Daniels, as well. Buffalo laying 4. I don't really have a feel for this game. I'd probably lay it before I did anything else here. But it's also, too, Buffalo, they can have a big letdown. Why are they going to care about the Colts, And also, too, Buffalo, they have Kansas City on deck. So this is a complete look-ahead spot. So I'd either have to lay it or stay off.
Right. Okay, Vikings, Jaguars. Scott, this is now minus. This was a big line movement. This opened Vikings +2. It is now Vikings -7.
Going to see if there's any is there any sort of injury news here? What do we?
Yeah, that's quite a. I don't know why the Vikings would put as a dog.
Well, Lawrence is questionable. Brian Thomas is questionable. Gabe Davis is questionable. Ezra Cleveland, left guard, is out.
The only way I could see Minnesota opening up as a dog is if Darnold was out.
Yeah,
but I don't remember hearing anything about that.
I don't either. And that's why I thought this was such a weird line, and then I thought the movement was like
it must have been Lawrence showing up on the injury list. Minnesota looks to be pretty healthy. Everybody on the offensive side is completely healthy. Got a couple questionable linebackers, but nothing that I think would drive that kind of a line movement. You have to monitor the situation here with those receivers and with Lawrence. But if everybody's able to go, I like the points there. I'll take this Jacksonville team that's probably not as bad as their record would indicate, and they're starting to play a little better ball on occasion. I think they could step up here. It's one of those. I'm either going to pass or I'm going to take Jacksonville. It's one of those things where I definitely don't want the Vikings.
I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars are one of the worst defenses in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're not good. They give up a ton of points. Unless you're going to, Wes, you're going to handy dandy stats there in front of you.
They give up 389 a game, which is number 31 in the league. So they're second worst. They're the penultimate of the defense as far as the worst defenses. I believe the Panthers are probably the worst. I think the Cowboys are 30th.
They rank number 30 in points allowed per game at 28 points per game.
Yeah.
Okay. So their defense is terrible. Steelers Commanders, I've got a premium play on this, so I can't touch this one. Line hasn't moved much. Steelers -1.5, Commanders +1.5 is the open. It's now 2.5. Steelers +2.5, Commanders -2.5. Wes.
So, Pittsburgh, they're 6-2. Washington, a surprising 7-2, and both these teams are trending upwards. But Washington, they're tough at home. They're actually 4-0 at home, thanks to the Hail Maryland, right? The Hail Maryland.
Nice.
And but Washington, they could play, like I said earlier. Jaden Daniels, a legit MVP candidate, and I'd probably have to go with the Steelers. What's the line? Is it 2.5 or is it 3? I like that.
Steelers +2.5.
2.5. Yeah, that's what I got it up to.
I like 3 a lot more than 2.5. But that team kind of found some new life with Russell Wilson. I was kind of really surprised he came in and started playing so well, because I remember that game that I think it was versus the Jets. That was his first start, and he looked terrible in the first half, and all of a sudden the second half he looked like Russell Wilson with the Seahawks. But Pittsburgh, they're 6-2 against the number. I'd probably go Steelers if I were to bet this game. I'd probably go buy them up to the 3. But that's my thoughts on this game.
Falcons Saints, I don't want anything to do with. The line is now Saints +3.5, Falcons -3.5. It opened at 1.5. Scott, quick thoughts on that?
Lay it. I don't like the Saints team at all. Getting healthy, I don't care. The defense is still a major problem. I'll lay the wood there, even on the road.
And I'll stay with you for this one. Broncos and Chiefs, your hometown chefs, have the Broncos coming to town. The Broncos got blown out last week by the Ravens, and DeAndre Hopkins rejuvenated that passing game for the Chiefs. So they're only minus a touchdown and the hook. If this was me, I would, and I don't have a side pick in this game. I've got a premium on the total that you can go find at Winners and Winers. I buy the hook and go Chiefs -7. That's me.
Okay, there you go. I'm gonna preface this by saying I have been ice cold on the Chiefs all season long. I watched this team play. I took them not to cover the number like 4 weeks in a row. They covered it every week. I'm like, okay, I'm on them. And then they go out and they do their thing. So I have been ice cold on this team. To me, it's a Chiefs team that's certainly better than 7.5 points better than the Broncos, but they have a special way of playing down to the level of the competition. And I think that there's a really good chance it could happen again as they play with their food for 3 quarters and then decide, oh, you know what, we need to go win this game and get the drive to win the game, but not cover in the last quarter. I'll do it again. I'll do it again. Lucy's going to hold the football this time. I swear to God, I'm taking the Broncos plus 7.5.
Yeah, well, the refs don't really get rolling for them until about the fourth quarter. So just, you want to make sure that
anytime you have half an hour, I'll go through that narrative and tell you why it's stupid.
49ers, Buccaneers, the return of Run CMC. This opened Niners -4. It's now Niners -6.5. I stayed away from this game because I'm like, you know what? The public is thinking, Christian McCaffrey's back. Everything's going to be like the 49ers offense of old. I don't know how much he's going to play. If I was the 49ers, I'd be being very careful with him. Wes, you got a pulse on this one?
It's a tough game to put my finger on. Our friend Tom Macrina, Rycape, he went on Sports Rage with Gabe. I know we all go on that show and have fun with Gabe and chop it up with him, but he gave out the Niners minus the points. And I tend to agree. I mean, we're talking about bad defenses, right? And we look at the Buccaneers, and they are number 30 as far as yards given up per game, 386 a game, which is a lot. And obviously Tampa still no, Mike Evans, still no Godwin out for the year. So especially McCaffrey coming back, you got to think is going to give them some juice. It's a big number, but if I did anything here, I'd have to lay it with San Fran.
Okay, and the final early game, and this is the last NFL game we're going to touch on because we're a little over time here. Patriots, Bears. This opened Patriots +4.5. It's now Patriots +6. I don't know how much I trust the Bears, and the Patriots can play defense, and Drake May is making an offense look a little bit less putrid. Scott.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, this has actually gone up to. This is actually at 6.5 in some spots. So there is Bears money coming in. I hate this Patriot team so much, just so much. You know what? Give me the over. Give me the over 38.5. I think Drake May will be able to bust a couple, and the Bears offense will be able to do enough damage to do the rest. I'm going to pull the ripcord and just take the over 38.5.
All right, there we go. All right, folks, this has been Betting in the Break. Catch us every Saturday and Sunday at 4:15 Pacific, 7:15 East. Remember, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell so you'll never miss an episode of Betting in the Break. He's Sniper West. He's Scott, the Steamroller. Thanks for being here, guys. Until tomorrow.